On either side of the path were ancient gravestones that had fallen over in the long grass or sunk into the soil. I was dying to see which one Mum and Dad could stop in front of. Perhaps an army chum of Dad's was buried here. You often heard about men who'd returned from war who, despite being back home with their families, never recovered from their injuries. Not too far along the path they did stop. Mum said something to Dad, who took off his hat and held it to his chest, then spoke to her. I couldn't hear what he said. Above the blackbirds and trams going by on the main road, and someone in a nearby garden calling to their cat. The strange thing was, neither of them seemed to be looking down at the grave. They were gazing straight ahead at the long whitewashed wall behind which was the convent. Standing there, they looked different. Not their usual weary selves, but so full of emotion they were shaking with it. And it frightened me, rather. I'd never seen them react like this to anything or anyone before. They didn't stay long. On the way out, when they passed my hiding spot, I froze in case they saw me. But they were so lost in their thoughts that neither of them even looked up from the path. All the way back down Swinton Street, they walked in silence. I followed at a safe distance. Then, at the bottom of our street, they stopped outside the pub. Sweet sherry before closing time? I heard Dad ask. It was pretty brazen of him, to be honest. Women round our way didn't go to the pub. That it was where men went to escape their wives, and their wives were glad to send them. Mum always said that sweet sherry was a godsend because it gave me a chance to get home before they did. They didn't come back for ages, long enough for my mind to drift to tomorrow, and the telegram I'd be sending. The post office wouldn't open till 9, so I'd have to miss the first lesson, and my St Kilda's uniform, I knew all too well, stuck out like a pimple. This time, I decided not to take any chances. Mum knew I had a plain black skirt which I could wear, then afterwards change back into my uniform. It wasn't that my parents' room was out of bounds, more that it was theirs, not mine. It smelled of Mum and Dad's hair oil, and sometimes, if the window hadn't been opened in a while, of last night's cooking. It was the only other proper-sized room in our flat. As I tiptoed through the door, I felt instantly guilty. Mum would have lent me her skirt if I'd asked, but I couldn't without wanting her to know why. In the corner of the room was a curtain. Behind it on pegs hung my parents' few clothes. There was a black skirt, shiny with wear, but what caught my eye was Mum's little cardboard suitcase on the floor beneath. It was covered in dust because no one ever used it. Seeing it there, I thought of Tulip and Oz, who were probably packing for tomorrow's trip right at this moment. I felt envious, worried, glad of our crazy plan, but as I unhooked the skirt, I let myself dream just for a second that I was going with them, and that I'd come here to borrow Mum's suitcase. I picked it up, just to try it. Though the handle creaked dryly, it was thrilling to hold. I imagined loading it onto a train or a ferry and covering it with stickers to show all the countries we'd passed through. I didn't realise the latches on the case weren't clipped shut until the lid swung open, hitting me in the shin. Ouch! I hissed, rubbing my leg. A piece of paper fell out, fluttering to the floor. It looked like a receipt or a ticket, until I picked it up. On it was written, Boy, £8 6 ounces, born 19th of November 1899, St Mary's Convent, Islington, London. An odd feeling crept through me. Somehow, I didn't think I was meant to see this bit of paper. If the dust was anything to go by, it'd been inside the suitcase for years. Nor did it seem a coincidence that 19 November was today's date, the baby's birthday. Was this my mum and dad gone to St Mary's Convent, or at least stood outside? Looking so upset. And was it the reason for our super special Sunday lunch? I had no idea, but my head started reeling. Something was going on here, something shadowy and private, and in my own family too. Footsteps were coming up the stairs. Panicking, I pushed the suitcase back in place, grabbed the black skirt and ran. I made it to my bedroom just as the front door opened. Mum and Dad took their coats and hats off, went wearily to the kitchen. The smell of sherry and tobacco trailed behind them, as did I once I'd hidden the black skirt under my bed. "Hello, love," Mum said, seeing me in the doorway. "I'll make us a nice cup of tea, shall I?" Been working hard, she has. Look, said Dad, proudly pointing at my books on the kitchen table. I have, I agreed. It was only half a lie, but it came out easily, especially now I wasn't the only one with secrets.